Hey there, party people. Welcome back to 86.5 The Vibe, the Fireside Chat. This is my good friend Market Matt.
What's up, everyone?
I'm your boy Jack EC, and today we are here for you. Interesting week in the stocks. I'll just let you hop right into it.
Okay. So we saw that OEG made a nice move. I remember waking up and this guy over here texted me because I slept in that day. But I knew when I opened my phone it was going to be some good news. But so they ended up getting a contract for the telecommunications company that they had purchased back a few months ago. They ended up getting a contract to build more infrastructure for that sector, and it was, I believe, a $20 billion 10-year contract, which technically would mean that they get $2 billion a year in work to perform for the other company. But the reason that it went up so much is I think that this was obviously, anytime a PR comes out like that positive, it's usually surprise news, but this was particularly surprised because most of the people invested in this that have a knowledge of what's going on are waiting for more of the solar contracts, which are also going to be infrastructure based, hopefully in the billions of dollars, long-term contracts as well. The more contracts that come in for this company, the more, revenue they're going to generate. So with this contract, it was kind of unexpected. So that kind of shot it up a lot. Finally, I saw that it was like kind of had like a support of, I believe, like 620, 650 in price. It was up about 75%. And then right around like power hour, I think it pushed through and it ended up closing, I think 115% up around like the high sevens. And then after hours, it pushed even higher to like, I believe 850. So that's a pretty large increase in one day. Anytime anything goes up, 100%, that's a pretty big deal. However, the gains didn't hold. Anytime something goes up that much, it's definitely, has to consolidate and, take a breather. And then, that's what happened with this in this case. And I also think the reason it kept going down the last couple of days was also because I think there was a lot of hype around that contract. I think after reading more about it, that money may not be guaranteed. 20 billion in 10 years, they may only get a portion of that. So I think that's why, overreaction and then kind of coming back down to realistic, price. Right now, what did we close at? Let me see. Do you have it up?
We closed at 498 today, which is up 27% on the month.
Okay.
So let me ask you this. I was listening to...
It looks like it closed 476, but I think it's at 498 after hours. That's great. So that means it's even up even more after hours. That's a good sign for maybe Monday. What were you going to say?
That's a great question. What was I going to say? Oh, so you said that this contract was unexpected.
Yes.
There's other contracts in the work.
Yes.
When are they expected?
They were expected around, I believe, this month. So you could see another PR coming up in the next, few weeks here. The other contract, I think it's supposed to be like $750 million to $1 billion of guaranteed revenue. I don't think it's spread out over 20 years. I forgot. I have to look in more detail. There's also other contracts coming in as well. But obviously, like I said before, the more contracts that come in, the more revenue that they're going to get, which in turn increases stock price over time. This is a long-term investment for me. As I've said before, I mentioned to him earlier that, we could have probably dumped all our shares at, like right before closing around, for a nice gain and probably bought back lower. But, I'm not really looking to do that. I'm not trying to swing, anything back and forth here, because what if you did sell and then they got another news after hours and they shoot up another, crazy amount? Like, I'm in it for the long haul. I'm patient. People are some analysts raise their price targets on here, but I think the consensus right now is between the $15 and $17 range for the end of the year. And I think that's very achievable, considering it hit over 8 the other day in just one day. Get like 1 or 2 more contracts before the end of the year, it should be over $10 in my opinion. Right now, buying it, I think it's a great buy right now, under $5. I think
I'm glad you said something.
I don't think
I was just about to ask that.
It's
still a good buy.
It definitely is right now. Right now, if you asked me the other day, like if it had not tanked, in the morning and lost 30% of its gains off the top, the day after it had its over 100% run, I would probably say, wait for a pullback a little bit. But I think right now, it's definitely overreaction. There's a lot of short selling out there with stocks right now, as you know, like with AMC, GameStop, all the other ones. Like I'm sure I haven't checked the short percentage. I'll do that in a few minutes once we finish up here. But I'm sure that that's part of it too. Obviously, if something goes up a lot, then the sharks come out and try to, bring things down that go up, because then it's easier to bring it down. But anyways, yeah, more contracts coming. My price target for this end of year is $15 or more. I'm not selling till it goes over, 20, 30. I think that's fair value there, with obviously, more revenue coming in. We'll see how the next earnings goes. Yeah, that's my analysis on this. I'm glad that we saw some action though. That was a great day. They were number one trending on all the apps I use, like for news and stuff, like number one all day. I mean, I think it was the top gainer of that day in the whole market. So that's pretty awesome to be a part of that.
Yeah, certainly. So you said that it's a long-term hold, and you talked about a $15 range at the end of the year. But then you said that you were looking for the 30s overall.
Yeah,
when would you expect, what would be, how long-term of a hold is this? Are you thinking
it depends.
A few years or maybe
think,
decades? Like, do you think this is a company that'll be relevant 20 years from now?
I think most definitely, but I think I'm going to probably move on to other things, in between there. I'd probably keep a small position long-term, obviously. But when I say long-term, I mean anything over a year, usually. But I'm looking to hold this until one thing I learned in investing is you set mental, milestones or price targets. If you don't have a plan going into something, you're not going to know when to make the right exit. You're not going to know, you're not going to know what to do. And then also going off of what someone else says may not be the best thing for you. Everyone has a different plan or whatever. But, if my price target is $30, yours might be $50. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends what you're comfortable with. If you see your accounts up, 500% and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to sell it, do whatever you're comfortable with. But I know for a fact that this company will be a lot higher than what it is now in the next year or two. So whatever it is, then reassess. I'm looking for minimum between $20, $30 range though.
Okay. So, and I like the fact you brought that up.
Yeah.
That when it comes to investing or even life in general, I had a friend who once said there aren't any bunk beds in caskets. And what he meant by that was, you're looking at me crazy, but it meant, no, you have to be okay with your own decisions.
Exactly.
And so, you invest at your own risk. You stick around at your own risk. When you pull out, because remember, have you told them the story about Tesla?
Yeah.
That you were in Tesla?
I don't
really. But no, it's a good thing for them to think about, because OEG could get some solar, some big deal, and next thing you know, they put a satellite up in the sky that's powering everybody's solar or whatever.
I'll talk about Tesla in a second, but the other thing with that too, with these energy companies, renewable energy, there's definitely potential partnerships with other ones, and then other companies, big companies that want to partner with this, and they're getting huge contracts, and the market cap, what's the market cap? It's not even that high. It's under 500 million. Let me see. It's $250 million market cap. That's super low for any company that's in this sector. That's crazy. So definitely room to grow. He was talking about with Tesla, this was a while. I think it was a couple of years ago.
You don't have to tell me.
I don't know. I'm not an expert, per se, but I am learning. Just like with you guys, I'm trying to learn with you all. But I had one of my first investments was Tesla. I'll do the math for you guys here just to piss myself off a little more today. You don't
have to tell them this story. I mean,
I had 15 shares, I think about $270 at the time. It was $4,000 or so. I put $4,000 into Tesla when I was new. And this was before, obviously, all the success that they've had and everything. But pretty much what happened was I remember waking up one morning and Tesla was just reported third quarter earnings of 2018, 2019. I forgot what it was, but they were trending on CNBC. They were down 38% of the day. And I was like, shit, like, I'm down a bunch of money, and I was pretty new to this, and I held it at I held on to it. I held at a loss. I'm like, I believe in him. Elon Musk is a smart guy. This will go back up, So then finally they, I think like 6 months later, ended up bouncing back. It was doing great. That was when they had like a little bit of run pre-earnings or whatever. Ended up shooting up to, I think, like 460 or something like that. So I made almost 100% of that. I made like $3,800 on it. And I was like, I'm going to sell. I'll buy back in. I'll buy back in at the dip. Well, guess what? That dip never came. It never saw $400 again. It continued to go up, I think, to 900, and then it went up even higher. And then, like 3-4 months after that, they did their split. And then now, I think the shares today would have been valued. The 15 shares, if what I bought it back then, if it was worth today, it would have been like, I think, $33,000 in equity. So I missed out on a lot of gains there. And I should have held it. One thing that, I learned is that if you believe in a company in the long term and you don't need the money right now, leave it in, just leave it in. That I learned the hard way. I mean, and that's not, I've made massive gains before. I've also had some losses. It all, hopefully you come out on top in the end. That's all that matters. We all make mistakes. I've learned from it. So moving on.
I didn't want you to tell the story to like call you out on it.
No, I think it's good for them.
There's so much that you could learn because like you talked about diamond hands. What if as Tesla was dropping, you gave up on it then? Because you talked about how it rebounded and then you made the gain still. You just didn't make as much gains. Yeah. But you could have gotten out of Tesla while it was dropping and had to live with that. So you stuck with, something you believed in the long term. So like we might see dips in orbital energy.
Oh yeah.
We might see dips in Sessin. Anything is possible, but one of the morals of that story, and that's why I really like that story, is because there's so much you can take from it. Is if you believe in a company, the dips, like buy the dips.
Yeah.
Invest more in the dips.
I agree.
If orbital energy drops to $2 today, I hope it stays at $2 until I get my next paycheck. Yeah. Absolutely.
One thing I want to say is like also with that, a lot of people have their emotions in the market, and that's one thing I've been trying to like work on for myself. And that's more for like that goes for anything in the market, any type of investing. But I think it's mostly like a lot more with obviously like day trading and swing trading, large amounts of things. But these market makers, we've mentioned it before. These are people with millions and millions of dollars, billions, and they manipulate the price artificially, and they do this to try to get people like us, like retail investors, to sell at a loss or to sell cheap. And if you have stop losses, there's a way for them to see that, and they'll manipulate the price down all the way to your stop loss and just steal your shares cheap. And then you'll look back 15 minutes later, it might be down 20%, and then it turns green. I have a good example of that later. I'll talk about. But anyways, it's called Shaking Trees, Weak Hands. If you believe in it, like don't trade off emotion. Don't freak out because you see something down a bunch.
I think that's a great thing to remember. I mean, this is a game of intelligence, and life is honestly a game of intelligence. Anytime you let your emotions start to win, you've started to lose, and that's in sports. That could be in whatever your occupation is. And it's certainly true in the stock market. You
Absolutely.
have to be analytical. You have to look at the numbers, the data, the research. You have to do your research, your homework.
Yep. But yeah, like again with OEG, using the fundamental analysis, that's really, I saw all the potential news coming up for them. I think I mentioned them months ago, and I'm happy that things are turning around from them. We did have that market correction which beat a lot of things down, especially the energy sector. We're still waiting on infrastructure bill and all the other stuff, but we'll see what happens. We believe in the long term of them, and hopefully things keep moving up for them. I was a little disappointed with the price action today because it looked like they were going green for a little while and then kind of showed some weakness there, but we'll see how next week goes. I think you wanted to move on to Sessin, right?
Sessin Bio, whenever you're ready. It is up 35% on the month, which is 97 cents. Just a month ago was under $3. Now it's approaching 4 rapidly.
Yes.
At 3.74.
So we've talked about before. I won't go too much into it. However, something that caught my attention the other day, I'll look at it here. Got that fancy, those fancy technicals over there, man. So let's see. They had a PR. Where is it?
To fill the air, Sesson Bio is up 8.41 on the week, 8%. Cheap dollar once again, 3.74.
Where did I? Okay, well, I can't find that right now. But anyways, it looks like I didn't even see that news. That's news to me. It looks like on a couple days ago, they announced that they have a partnership with Qilu Pharmaceutical, which I think is the China-based one. They get some miles. Let's read real quick. Milestone payment. Oh, yeah, that's a small partnership. It's like a $2 million milestone. That's not really a lot, but every little bit counts for them. They're gonna Tom Cannell, the CEO, who's also a doctor, pretty much said he's looking to have between 12 and 15 global wide partnerships with Sesson by this year's end. I think they already announced that would be the 7th. I'm pretty sure. There were some other big ones. There was the Fujifilm Japan one, which was like a large amount of money. I think it was like in a couple $100 million partnerships. That's pretty big. Anyways, the other news that caught my attention with Sesson was I couldn't find the news report, but they had some new execs come over from other companies, and the one that stuck out to me the most that I talked to a few other people about was this woman named Patricia Drake, who was a Merck & Co. executive for over 30 years, who was making buku money. And for what reason she came to Sesson is what we're all speculating about. This is a great indicator that, oh, there you go.
See, got the article for you. I was going to say, you're a tech guy.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna. She's the new CCO of the company. So they that's insane to me. Like that means good news for the future, because they're that must be showing some confidence in her to leave her high position at an established pharmaceutical company already to go to one that's not even commercialized yet and has an approved product. That's crazy. The other thing that's very interesting is Merck. Sesson is Merck's big competition with the Keytruda, which is one of their best selling drugs. And the Sesson's drug would take away from their sales for certain indications for that drug. So I was telling him earlier, like, what better, when you're an established company, what better way to grow than to buy your competition out. So I think by her coming over, I think it's a very strong indication that there could be some either partnership or buyout coming for Sesson, contingent upon either a specific amount of market sales, if they do it alone at first, or just approval buyout. If that's the case, I'm actually hoping there's not a buyout, because I think in the long term, if they do it on their own, long-term share price might be higher. But let's hope if there's a buyout, share price is high enough for us to all walk away very happy. But they also, as a sign-on bonus for her to come over, they just gifted her 1 million shares at $0, which is a pretty big amount to be given to someone. That definitely, to me, shows confidence in them, just to give 1 million shares away for free like that. Like that's a lot. So that's some good news to see. And it's kind of under the radar right now. With that. One last thing to mention with Sesson is, they have this FDA approval coming up. Anything could happen. They can get delayed. It cannot get approved right away. They could get a common response letter, which means not approved right away, which could delay. And any of those negative things come out, obviously the share price is going to drop. So once again, we'll say, trade at your own risk, invest at your own risk. However, I'm very confident in that everything will be successful with this. One thing that the CEO pointed out that I read recently was that the manufacturing and All the offices involved with their operations have been inspected already by the FDA and cleared. So we should not see any issues with like manufacturing or anything like that. There's a lot of like very small things that go into the FDA process, like I mentioned before with a different company, like the labeling. Like hopefully there's no arguments and issues with the labeling for this drug, and hopefully it's a smooth, approval process. I'm hoping that the PDUFA date is August 18th. I'm hoping it comes before then as a surprise. Share price will go up. My plan for this, again, I'm not planning to sell on approval. I'm either holding for the buyout or I'm holding, until 2023 to see where peak sales go with this. I showed you that chart that someone made about the potential. There was like low, mid, and high potential market penetration of sales for their drug. Even on the low end, they're predicting, at peak sales in 2023 of a share price between, I think it was like $15 and $25. Like that's pretty huge for something that was under $3, a month ago. But that's pretty much all I have to say about Sesson. Like, I've been in this one for 2 years, and, it's been a long wait for this process, but hopefully we'll all be very rewarded. So,
but you have been constantly making money from Sesson.
I mean,
of course, the last 2 years.
My investment
It's been a good 2 years.
Is constantly growing with Sesson. I'm up almost 200% right now with it, so I'm doing very well. But this could be something that could go parabolic one day in the long term, unless Merck could turn around and be like, we calculate. A lot of companies, like, they don't usually buy out something unless it's FDA approved already, because that's like kind of a hurdle to go through. But there's been companies that have been bought out contingent upon approval. Like, they'll announce the FDA approval, and then like a week or two later they'll be like, we had this agreement with this company to buy out upon approval. They're buying the whole company, or they're buying the rights to that medicine or the chemical, for that company. But they could say, hey, we'll calculate your peak sales at, $2 billion divided by the outstanding shares of 400 million, which would give you a price of this. We're going to offer you a little bit below that. So it could be like, we'll buy the company out right now for $30 a share or something like that. Like you could see it. You don't know. Hoping that it's more than that though. We'll figure it out. But
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So I suppose then the conclusion would be that there might not be a new Power 5 this week. There might just be a dynamic duo.
Oh,
and if somebody told you that they had just gotten their paycheck today, so stock market's closed now, they're looking to invest this coming week, your advice would be continue to pound Sesson and OEG respectively.
I mean, if you're trying to buy some companies that are going to grow rapidly in the next year or two, then yes. If you're looking for something safer, then I'd probably recommend something else, but we won't talk about that right now.
Well,
I had one more I can mention real quick. That again, another disclaimer.
We love knowledge.
This is a very speculative thing.
It's RFT, RTF?
It was RFL. It was recommended to someone by me. There's American Society of Clinical Oncology conference starting. It actually started this morning through June 8th. So there's multiple companies presenting there, and they have their posters and their abstracts of the information for the different phase trials. So there's multiple companies presenting. This one was recommended to me, though, and what stuck out to me about it is it only has a 16 million share float, which is pretty low. So if it gets any positive news and it hits people's scanners that are like day traders, swing traders, or if it gets a lot of attention, the price is going to go, in my opinion, it could go very quickly. I'm not playing shares with this. I'm doing options.
Wow.
So we haven't really talked much about that.
That's dangerous.
But so what was interesting is I'll tell you exactly what I got. I got the stock price today. It closed at $46.68. I got $60 calls for June 18th. So it has like at least 2 weeks to move. I figured news was going to come out. They supposedly presented today, but there's no official press release yet. If data is positive and they get that press release out there, I think it will move. So it could be a good scalp. This isn't like investing. This is like a swing trade. So I'm looking to scalp some money off of that for next week whenever the information comes out. But one other bonus with that is that long term could be good. I think their drug was for pancreatic cancer. But all I know is that the CEO bought like 900,000 shares last week at $45 a share. So if that doesn't seem bullish, I don't know what does. So to me, that looks great. You always want to follow the insiders most of the time. So for me, that, I'm thinking news could be positive. It's kind of a gamble. It's a scalp to me, not really an investment, but just wanted to throw it out there if anyone's interested to kind of, risk the biscuit here. Go for it.
Okay. So
at your own risk.
I was going to say, so let me ask you this. For a quick update, they can get on the Facebook page, right? You have access to the Instagram personally.
Oh yeah, I think you.
So you can, I was gonna say, so you can give them an update there. They can follow you on StockTwits as well.
I don't really post much like there, but if you follow to see what I look at, you probably can see on there. But yeah, that's one way. You can message me directly, maybe.
I guess my point more so was, you said it's at 40 something now, right?
46.
46, and the news would make it go up
if it's positive. Honestly, and like I said, it's a risk. Like sometimes even with positive news, things go down. I was
gonna say you took option trades on it. You're a pretty smart guy, so I'll say it's a pretty good calculated risk to take. Not that I would endorse it. I endorse you. But my point was,
I probably shouldn't have even mentioned it. But just for anyone that does play options and is looking to, for a good scalp,
options are scary. I've heard of people owing a lot of money over options.
Oh, you might not. You might, and if you write them, maybe. But if I just did covered calls, I just bought the calls. If you lose out, you lose what you put in. It's not like you.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I didn't put a lot in. I bought $350 worth. So if it expires worthless or I lose a little bit, I'm not too worried. But if it goes up big, good reward,
Yeah.
So I've hit pretty big that CVM. Back when the GameStop short squeeze happened and everything, CVM was one of the highest shorted stocks as well, which we've talked about before. And they had a run to $44, and I bought. I had 3 or 4 contracts I got for literally $1. I made $6,000 off of those altogether. Wow. Altogether, yeah.
CVM is the one that became Celsi?
Sell-side, yeah.
Sell-side, okay,
yeah.
Okay. All right.
We're still waiting on data. We've been waiting a long time for that, but stock price is holding up, man. It's doing pretty well. I think I recommended it when it was 13 or 16 or something like that.
I got
20, in. It's 24. Yeah, I got in at 16. So it's it's up.
It's 7 o'clock.
Oh, it's 7 o'clock. All right. Let's go.
My computer is always keeping me updated. All right, so my question for you is, if this stock were to, the positive news hits, it starts skyrocketing, at what point is, because, a lot of our people are new, and options can be, interesting.
Oh, if anyone's new or if you don't know, I would just watch for entertainment. I would not participate in this. And honestly, I kind of regret doing it at the same time because it's I was looking more into it and it's such a low volume stock. I feel like it may not move even if the news is really, really good. But, sometimes it's worth, taking risks. So,
well,
we'll see.
Okay. So my question was, if they don't do the option, say they want to buy it instead, because remember you talked about how that's less risk. On one of our earlier episodes, buy the stock. Nobody can force you to sell it. So you can keep it as long as you need to until, you finally make money off of it. So if somebody, says that's how they're going to go about it, at what point would you say that the price, at what point would you say to put their sell order in?
I can't say because I don't know. I don't know any, I haven't really looked at the price action based off of past events for this. I was looking at some other stocks that had positive phase 2, phase 3 results, and the percentages were really good. One example would be KRTX. Last year, they were at $11, and they went from $11 to a high of 150 in one day. Yeah.
Wow.
So, never know. If you ever catch one like that, you're lucky. So I was thinking maybe
That
this
sounds
one could.
legendary.
I was thinking maybe this one could, be like that, because the reason a lot of those stocks go up like that, obviously the news has to be really good, but then like it has to be pushed up. The short outstanding share float has to be pretty low. This one RFL being 16 million, like that's pretty low. Then you also have like micro short float, which is only like 3-4 million in float, share float. Anyways, like I said again, highly speculative. If you know options and you mess around with it from now and again, definitely check out the chain. See what's there. Like I said, the $60 calls were looking, fair price, pretty cheap. If you don't know, I would just, I wouldn't even buy shares. I would just stay away. But keep it on your watch list. See what happens with it next week. I was expecting news today, did not happen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe nothing will happen. Maybe I just lost $350, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, so that'll be a fun one to watch. No,
yeah. Sometimes it's fun just to see what's going to happen with certain things. But
so to wrap it up, I guess we should close by telling them the schedule going forward. Tomorrow you'll hear from Shade and I, where we will talk about how to handle your depression, and we will have a little discussion about some of Kevin Samuel's content, his some of his quotes, which should be fun.
It's a nice guy,
On Sunday, you'll hear from the JD, where he'll talk about the new transgender law in Tennessee. And then on Monday, we'll hear from Market Madigan. I believe that you got some questions that we're still, researching, working on opinions for. The Apple thing.
Been busy too,
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we're still working on. So maybe on Monday.
I apologize. Yeah.
No. I was gonna say no. I was gonna say. I mean, you have to think about the Apple question.
These guys are giving me homework on top of my school already, man.
The Apple. I was gonna say the Apple question is really like a long term. I feel like thing because they asked about the trial in the short term, but even in the long term, like they talked about like the potential of a car and like
the car. Look,
crazy technology. I was like, dude, that's out of this world.
I wouldn't worry about any lawsuits with Apple. They're one of the most successful companies in the world. If they do lose and pay a settlement, it's not going to touch them at all. It may be like a short decline. They'll be fine in the long term. As far as
buying opportunity.
As far as they're making a car, I really like. I validate Tesla, man. Like I've driven a couple. My friend owns one. I've driven multiple different ones. I love the technology behind them. They're already way ahead of other companies. They already have factories. They have an amazing, smart guy leading the company. I know that there'll be other companies out there, but for right now, I wouldn't be looking at anything else.
You wouldn't entertain anything else for EVs?
No.
Okay. Maybe, a few years from now, perhaps.
There was the other one, Churchill, CCIV. I think it's still a SPAC. That one of the ex-Tesla executives went to that company and started it. That's something we should look at because
CCIV.
Using maybe some of the technology they have at Tesla for that, and he worked there for many years and then bringing his knowledge over to a new company he started. That might be something to take a look at there. I know GM, you said, Apple.
I'm in Ford.
Workhorse, Ford.
Oh, I'm in Workhorse too.
XL Fleet, which we've made money off of in the past, right?
Oh, yeah, we did.
So all those, there's so many out there. It's just like, and there's definitely enough market for everyone, but it's like, you have to look at who's where they are right now. Like, what if like another Amazon popped up in America and like, would it be popular? Would it be successful? Probably not, because Amazon's a freaking monopoly. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, if anyone could do it, I would say probably Apple could. Yes, but
make a EV.
Yeah, if anyone could, or Amazon. I think Amazon was merging with someone else too a while back. But if anyone could do it, it could be those already established multi-trillion-dollar companies. But is it going to happen tomorrow? No. And will it move the price enough for you to retire early? Probably not. So there you go.
And then I think somebody else asked about dividends.
We talked about it before, but I could talk about it again on Monday. That's not too bad.
They want to talk about your favorite dividend stocks.
Yeah, I got a couple.
That's a good question. And then I was just thinking to myself, maybe we could do some research and talk about it on Monday too. But what about Amazon getting in the marijuana thing? That could be something interesting to look at.
Have you heard or no? Have you heard?
They said something about they want marijuana to be legal now, and they're done drug testing their employees. And I was like, it's kind of interesting for them to weigh in on it. What if they get it, into the market? Amazon. I mean, they're doing their grocery stuff now. The new one just opened in our neighborhood.
I haven't checked it out yet.
Oh, Amazon cool? Fresh. No, I'm scared to go in there.
Oh, you haven't been in yet?
It's not right. They literally bought out the shoppers and then came in.
That's where it is?
Yeah,
I thought that was going to be illegal. Okay. Well, that's different.
Yeah,
I'll
go
with you. We'll check it out together.
But yeah, we'll definitely be back on Monday with a lot more to talk about, a lot more for you to keep up with. Matt, it's always a pleasure having you. You're so knowledgeable.
Thank you for having me.
You're so bright, and everybody just loves hearing from you.
Thank you.
And so that being said, this was Market Matt. This is Market Matt. I'm Jackie C, and you all have a good night.
Last minute.